A very warm welcome to you. I am so very glad you have chosen this quiet sanctuary to rest for a while. This story was crafted to be a soft place for your thoughts to land, a gentle current to carry you toward peaceful contentment and deep sleep. If you find comfort in this tale, a simple like or a subscription is always deeply appreciated, and a kind comment is a lovely thing to find in the morning. Tonight, we will be visiting the Vale of Murmuring Gold. Prepare to discover a place where the very sunlight tastes of warmth and spice, and where profound kindness is shared in the form of freshly baked bread that soothes the soul. Allow this gentle respite to quiet your mind and bring you stillness and calm. Chapter 1. The Scent of First Light. It is a curious and wonderful thing how the most important paths are found not with the eyes, but with a sense of things. Nora found her way into the valley not by map or by signpost, but by following a scent upon the air, a delicate and curious whisper of cinnamon that seemed to pull her gently forward. The fragrance was unlike any she had known, for it felt less like a spice from a faraway land and more like the very scent of warmth itself, a comforting promise carried on a breeze that caressed her skin with the softest touch. The path she walked was not of gravel or paving, but of earth pressed smooth by the passing of quiet feet and gentle seasons, yielding slightly with every step. The higher she climbed the softly rolling hill, the more this warm spice scent enveloped her, becoming a soft blanket in the air. When she reached the crest, the valley opened up below her, and it was a sight of such gentle wonder that she felt her breath catch in her throat, only to be released in a slow, silent sea. The Vale of Murmuring Gold, as she would later learn it was called, was bathed in a light that seemed spun from honey. It was a perpetual state of late, peaceful afternoon, where shadows were long and soft, and every blade of grass was tipped with a gentle golden gleam. The air, now thick with the scent of warm earth, mingling with that lovely spice, hummed with a low, continuous sound, a gentle thrumming that felt ancient and deeply calming. She descended into the vale on the soft earthen path, and the world outside seemed to simply fade away, its noises and its hurries receding without a fuss. Here the only sounds were the soft sigh of the wind through the tall bell-shaped flowers and that ever-present resonant hum that seemed to emanate from the very soil. She found a small cottage, nestled amongst a copse of trees with silvery bark, its thatched roof the color of dried lavender and looking soft as a sleeping bird. The door, made of a single smooth piece of pale wood, was unlatched, and a feeling of profound welcome seemed to radiate from it, like warmth from a hearth. Inside, the cottage was simple and clean, containing a sturdy wooden bed with a thick hand-woven blanket folded neatly upon it, a small table, and a hearth of smooth, cool clay. A fine layer of dust coated the surfaces, suggesting it had been waiting quietly for some time. Nora ran a finger along the wooden table, the texture smooth and comforting beneath her skin. The air within was still and cool, yet carried the same faint, comforting scent of cinnamon from outside, a scent that now felt like a gentle greeting. She felt a sense of safety settle over her, as soft and as thorough as the golden light filling the single window. She unpacked her few belongings, her movements slow and unhurried, as if the valley itself were teaching her a new, more peaceful rhythm. The sketchbook she carried felt at home on the small wooden table, its blank pages seeming to hold the promise of capturing this quiet light. The weight of her journey, a weight she had not fully been aware of, seemed to lift from her shoulders, dissolving into the warm, scented air. She did not feel tired, but rather she felt a deep and settled stillness begin to take root within her. As dusk began to settle, the golden light of the valley did not fade to gray, but deepened into a rich, amber glow. The seams in the earth just beyond her window began to emanate a soft internal luminescence, a quiet, magical pulse that was deeply reassuring. Nora sat on the edge of the bed, the thick weave of the blanket a comforting presence beneath her hands. She listened to the hum of the valley, a sound that felt like a lullaby sung by the land itself. She lay down, pulling the heavy, comforting blanket over her, its texture soft against her cheek. The scent of cinnamon and warm earth was a final, gentle whisper before sleep. Her breath deepened, falling into sync with the slow, ancient pulse of the vale. Here, she thought, as her eyes drifted closed, even the light is kind. It was a place to be still, a place to simply be. And that was a more wonderful gift than she could have ever imagined. Chapter 2. The Taste of Sunshine. Nora awoke to a world painted in soft gold. The light filtering through the cottage window was gentle and warm, carrying with it that now familiar, comforting scent of cinnamon, which was mingled this morning with the even more wonderful aroma of freshly baked bread. It was this scent that drew her from her restful sleep, a warm and wholesome invitation to the new day. She dressed slowly, her heart filled with a quiet sense of anticipation, a feeling as gentle and pleasant as the morning light itself. The air outside was cool and still, and the hum of the valley's flora seemed a little brighter, a little more welcoming in the dawn. She followed the warm, yeasty scent along the soft earthen path, which led her through a small collection of cottages much like her own. Their thatched roofs, damp with morning dew, shimmered in the golden light, looking as soft and settled as sleeping animals. Chimneys of smooth clay sent thin, lazy ribbons of pale smoke into the air, each one carrying the comforting smell of a gentle hearth fire. There were no fences here, only gardens of softly colored flowers and useful-looking herbs, their scents mingling pleasantly with the warm aroma of baking that grew stronger with every step she took. The path ended at a slightly larger building, from whose window a welcoming buttery light spilled out. This, she knew at once, was the source of the wonderful smell. The building was a bakery, its walls the same pale, smooth wood as her own cottage, its roof a thick and cozy-looking thatch. A simple wooden sign hung above the door, with the shape of a single round loaf of bread carved into it. The warmth radiating from the building could be felt even from the path, a gentle, beckoning heat that promised comfort and nourishment. The scent was almost intoxicating now, a rich and complex perfume of baking dough, sweet spice, and a hint of wood smoke. Stepping inside, Nora was enveloped in a wave of warmth that seemed to seep right into her bones. The air was thick with the scent of bread and cinnamon, a smell so comforting it felt like a hug. The room was simple, dominated by a large flour-dusted wooden table and a great hearth of dark, smooth clay, where a gentle fire crackled and danced. Standing at the table was a man, his back to her, kneading a large mound of dough with a slow, rhythmic grace. He turned as he heard her enter, his kind eyes smiling even before his lips did. This, she knew, must be Corin, the baker. "Good morning," he said, his voice as soft and warm as the air in his bakery. "You must be the new arrival. Welcome to the Vale." He gestured to a small loaf, perfectly browned and cooling on a nearby rack. "You're just in time." His hands, dusted with flour, moved with a practiced ease as he broke off a piece of the warm bread and held it out to her. It was a simple gesture of welcome, offered without expectation, and it filled Nora with a sense of profound gratitude. Nora took the piece of bread, its surface crusty and warm against her fingertips. She brought it to her lips, and the taste was a small, quiet revelation. It was not just bread. It tasted of the valley itself, of the golden light and the warm, cinnamon-scented air. It was wholesome and faintly sweet, with a texture that was both satisfyingly dense and wonderfully light. The warmth of the loaf spread from her tongue through her whole body, a comforting internal sunshine that seemed to chase away the last vestiges of any weariness she might have carried. She looked at Corin, her eyes expressing the thanks her words could not quite form. He simply nodded, a gentle understanding passing between them. In this simple bakery, at the heart of this peaceful valley, kindness was not a grand gesture. It was a shared piece of warm bread, a taste of sunshine offered freely. It was a nourishment that fed not only the body but the soul as well. And Nora felt a deep and abiding sense of peace settle within her. Chapter 3. The Kneading of Quiet Thoughts. A quiet sense of belonging, as comforting as the warm bread she had tasted, drew Nora back to the bakery the following morning. The sun was once again casting its gentle golden glow across the vale, and the air hummed with its peaceful, resonant song. Corin was already at his work, and he greeted her with a soft smile and a gentle nod, an unspoken invitation to stay and watch the simple magic he performed each day. He did not speak much, for his language was in the steady, rhythmic movements of his hands, a form of communication far more soothing than words. He gestured for her to come closer, to the wide window at the back of the bakery. Just outside, in the soft earth of his garden, she could see them clearly now. They were seams of a beautiful pale gold that ran through the dark soil, glowing with a soft, internal light. "This is the valley's gift," Corin murmured, his voice a low hum that complemented the thrumming of the flora outside. "The light filters through the good earth, and it becomes warm. It becomes kind." He showed her how he left his sacks of flour open by the window, letting the golden, cinnamon-scented light pour into them, imbuing the fine white powder with its gentle essence. Nora watched, mesmerized, as he carried the flour to his large wooden table. He added water from a clay pitcher, water which he told her came from a deep, quiet spring, and began to knead. The sound filled the warm, still air of the bakery, a soft and rhythmic thudding that was deeply hypnotic. Thump, fold, turn, thump, fold, turn. It was a steady, living pulse, the heartbeat of this tranquil place. Nora found her own breathing slowing to match the gentle cadence, each exhale a release of thoughts she no longer needed to hold. Corin seemed to sense her quiet fascination, and he gestured to the mound of dough. He invited her to touch it. Nora reached out a hesitant hand and pressed her fingers into the yielding surface. The dough was alive, warm, and smooth, with a texture that was both resilient and soft. It felt like potential, like pure comfort waiting to be shaped. Corin then took a small handful of flour and sprinkled it onto her palm, and the sensation of the cool, silky powder against her skin was wonderfully grounding, connecting her to the simple, earthy elements of this peaceful process. She spent the morning in the bakery, not as a guest, but as a quiet companion to the baker's work. The only sounds were the crackling of the hearth, its smooth clay surface radiating a gentle heat, the soft thump of the kneading, and the constant low hum of the valley outside the window. Her mind, so often filled with the quiet chatter of observation, grew still. There was nothing to analyze here, nothing to figure out, there was only the gentle reality of the moment, the warmth, the comforting sense, the soothing textures, and the peaceful, rhythmic sounds. Later, as the loaves were baking, filling the air with their impossibly wonderful aroma, Nora sat on a small wooden stool by the hearth. The firelight danced across the smooth wooden floorboards, painting them with flickering patterns of soft orange and deep, gentle shadows. She held a warm, smooth clay mug in her hands, filled with tea made from the valley's special hearth-warmed water. It seemed to hold its gentle heat indefinitely, a constant source of comfort. In the quiet rhythm of the bakery, in the feel of the warm mug and the sight of the dancing flames, her own thoughts were gently kneaded into a state of profound and simple peace. Chapter 4. The Rising of Contentment. The days that followed melted one into the next, each a soft echo of the one before, and Nora found a deep and settled peace in the simple rhythm of the valley. Time here was measured not in hours or minutes, but in the slow, deliberate shifting of the golden light across the floor of her cottage, or the gentle cycle of the baking at Corin's side. There was no need to hurry, for there was nowhere else to be. There was only the profound, gentle pleasure of the present moment, a gift she received with quiet gratitude each morning she awoke. She spent many of her hours in the bakery, which had come to feel like the warm, steady heart of the Vale. She would sit in a comfortable chair near the hearth, a thick hand-woven blanket of incredible softness draped over her lap. The comforting weight of it was grounding, a gentle pressure that seemed to quiet any lingering restlessness within her. From this peaceful vantage point, she would watch the world of the bakery unfold. She noticed the way the golden dust motes danced in the shafts of sunlight, a slow and silent ballet in the warm air. She listened to the soft hiss and crackle of the fire, a sound as constant and reassuring as a sleeping breath. Corin accepted her presence with his usual serene grace, and soon she began to help with small, simple tasks. She would wipe down the great wooden table with a damp, clean cloth, the smooth, worn texture of the wood feeling pleasant under her hand. She would dust flour from the cooling racks, the fine white powder cool and soft on her skin. These were not chores, but gentle, mindful activities. Each action was simple, direct, and had a quiet purpose. In focusing on the smooth glide of the cloth or the soft brush of her fingers, her mind was free from complication, free from wandering thoughts. One afternoon, Corin was shaping small, round rolls, his hands moving with an effortless precision that was beautiful to watch. He paused and offered her a small piece of the raw, living dough. It was warm in her hand, and she instinctively began to mimic his movements, gently folding and shaping the soft mass. There was no goal of perfection, only the simple, tactile pleasure of the act itself. She felt a quiet joy rise within her, a feeling as gentle and steady as the rising of the bread in the warm air of the bakery. It was a feeling of contentment, pure and simple. In the evenings, she would return to her cottage, the scent of bread and cinnamon clinging to her clothes like a fond memory. She would light a single, soft-burning candle and open her sketchbook. Yet instead of drawing the things she saw, she found herself sketching the memory of feelings, the gentle curve of a warm loaf, the swirling pattern of steam rising from a cup of tea, the soft texture of a woven blanket. It was her way of giving thanks for the simple, profound comforts of the valley. She was learning that peace was not something to be sought, but something that arises naturally when one is simply present. And here, in the Vale of Murmuring Gold, being present was the easiest thing in the world. Chapter 5. A Loaf for the Journey. The time came, as it always does in gentle wanderings, when Nora felt the quiet pull of the path once more. It was not a feeling of urgency or a desire to leave the deep peace she had found. It was rather a soft invitation from the wider world, a gentle sense that the stillness she had gathered within her was ready to be carried on her journey. She woke one morning with this quiet knowing settled in her heart, as natural and as unhurried as the rising of the sun. The Vale of Murmuring Gold had given her a profound gift, and the kindest way to honor it was to take it with her. She went to the bakery, the soft earthen path feeling familiar and comforting beneath her feet. Corin was there, of course, already tending to his first batch of the day. He looked up as she entered, and his kind eyes held a perfect understanding. No words were needed to explain her gentle departure. He simply nodded, his smile soft and reassuring, and turned to the hearth. He took out a small, perfectly formed loaf, its crust a beautiful golden brown, and the familiar, wonderful scent of warm sunshine and spice filled the air. He did not hand it to her immediately. Instead, he took a clean, soft linen cloth and carefully wrapped the loaf, his movements slow and full of care. The cloth was warm from its proximity to the hearth, and its texture was smooth and comforting. He folded the corners neatly, creating a small, warm bundle that felt like a treasure. He held it out to her in both hands, a silent offering of provision and continued kindness. "For the journey," he said, his voice a soft murmur, "so you may always carry a little of the valley's warmth with you." Nora accepted the bundle, its gentle heat seeping through the cloth and into her hands. It felt wonderfully heavy, a solid, tangible piece of the peace she had found here. The scent rising from it was a promise of comfort for the path ahead. She looked around the bakery one last time, taking in the sight of the dancing dust motes in the light, the smooth texture of the wooden table, the soft glow of the hearth, and the serene presence of the baker. She etched the memory of this profound and simple comfort into her soul. She walked the soft path out of the valley, the warm loaf held carefully in her arms. The air was filled with the gentle, resonant hum of the flora, a sound that now felt like a fond farewell. As she reached the crest of the hill, she turned and looked back. The Vale of Murmuring Gold lay nestled in its soft hills, bathed in its eternal gentle light, a perfect picture of tranquility. It was not a place she was leaving behind, but a feeling she was carrying forward. With a final soft exhalation of gratitude, she turned back to the path ahead. The world beyond was waiting, with its own quiet beauties to be discovered, and as she walked, she carried with her the warmth of a kind baker, the peace of a quiet rhythm, and the simple, wonderful knowledge that sometimes, if you are very lucky, you can find a place where the light itself tastes of comfort and home.